These are the TRP DHR Evo brakes, and I keep hearing that these brakes are the best, most powerful brakes in the world. So let's find out. I'll be honest, the main reason for purchasing these brakes is because they're gold, and I'm going for a gold theme on my Santa Cruz Bronson. Just like episode 2 when I installed the TRP drivetrain back here, I bought these brakes with my own money. I have no affiliation with TRP, but thanks to everyone for watching and commenting on that last video. TRP actually saw that video and shared it on their Instagram, so that was pretty cool to get recognized. But right now, my Bronson has SRAM DB8 brakes with metallic pads and 200mm rotors, and the brakes are perfectly fine for Bentonville riding. Actually, going back to the high-low series, I tested the SRAM Mavens versus the DB8, and I found that the DB8 brakes were severely underpowered with 180mm rotors and organic pads. But then I sized up the rotors and went with metallic pads, and those changes made the brakes really good. I've tried some pretty powerful brakes in my day. I have Shigura brakes, a combination of Shimano levers and Magura calipers. They're still in use in my hardtail today, but they're definitely not the most powerful brakes that I've tried. I've tried Hayes Dominion brakes, and those are pretty good, but I didn't use them long enough to develop a solid opinion. I've even tried the ultra expensive Trick Stuff Maxima brakes, but I didn't like those mainly because the brake lever was so slippery. I currently have SRAM Maven Ultimates on my e-bike, and those are marketed as the most powerful brakes in the world, but mine have a nasty wandering bite point that I can't get rid of. I've tried 6 times doing a full bleed using all sorts of tips and tricks that I found online, and a lot of people are having that same issue. So because of that, I do not recommend SRAM Maven brakes until they fix that problem or provide some guidance on how to get rid of that wandering bite point. Call me weird, but I think SRAM code brakes are great. They have good power, great modulation, but they do need to be serviced once a year, and you can tell because they start feeling really stiff and squishy. But they're definitely my go-to for price and performance. But after so many people leaving comments about these brakes, I figured now is a good time to make it happen. These are TRP DHR Evo brakes. They're 4-piston, front and rear, costing $600 for the set without rotors. This is our mineral oil system, and I'm surprised they did not come with TRP's mineral oil. Actually, they didn't come with a whole lot, which is surprising for the price. I'm used to buying SRAM brakes that will come with some bonus goodies like shifter adapters, sometimes a small bottle of brake fluid, maybe a caliper adapter, but all that was in this box was a few barbs and olives and a few bolts. I'm kind of disappointed. When you venture out and don't use popular brands named Shimano and SRAM, you can run into some issues with not being able to find parts, and I'm already running into that issue before even installing these brakes. These brakes are intended to use ultra thick 2.3mm rotors, and not many brands make that thick of a rotor. Then to complicate things, my hubs are center lock, so I had a hell of a time finding rotors that fit. Even TRP themselves was out of stock of the good rotors. So after searching pretty much every online bike shop that sells TRP, I literally could not find 2 of the RC01E rotors in stock, and I ended up settling with these 203mm center lock rotors, but they're the mid-tier model, and I hope that doesn't reduce braking performance. And that's the risk that you take when you run parts from smaller component brands. You might break something and then have to wait days or weeks because your local shop, even online shops, might not even have the parts to replace, TRP, Hope, Hayes, Lewis, or whatever brand that you're running. Despite those issues that I found, and despite the TRP brakes and rotors adding 125 grams to this Bronson, I think these brakes are gonna look sick on this bike, and none of my issues will matter if these are as powerful and as good as everyone says they are. So let's get these installed. Well, the install went pretty smoothly, and I gotta say, these were the easiest brakes to align the caliper to the rotor. I just did the little trick where you pull the lever and then tighten the caliper bolts at the same time, and boom, no pad rubbing at all. But overall, I'm thinking this looks pretty awesome. What do you say we take this outside and stare at it? Man, this build turned out so good, man. I'm really happy with how this Bronson is coming together. And I know I'll get comments saying like, man, why didn't you just buy the top spec model if you're gonna be replacing all the parts anyway? Well, that's kind of what I do on this channel. I upgrade bikes, but I'm actually farming the parts off here and I'm putting it on a Canyon Spectral 125 that I used to run. And I'm gonna sell that as like a, starter bike or whatever. And second, I like being able to choose the parts that I put on my bike. And I think I can put together something much nicer than what Santa Cruz has to offer. So I was gonna do a fun riding montage, right here in the video, but man, I did go do a few runs and I am just not feeling good on the bike right now, and it's not because of the brakes. On my warm-up runs, I thought that these TRP brakes would basically feel like Shimano because TRP shares some of the same standards that Shimano uses. But man, I was wrong. They are way different. Shimano has a very on and off feel, low modulation, but these TRP brakes, man, they have good bite and they have excellent modulation. So that means the more you pull in the levers, the more braking power that you have. And that's what I like about SRAM brakes. When you pull in the lever called lever throw, it feels very light and easy to pull, similar to the Hayes Dominions and much better than the SRAM Mavens. But Hayes Dominions are still way lighter to pull in with what they call dead stroke. The reservoir does stick out a lot and I could see that getting damaged pretty easily with a crash, but unlike Shimano lever blades, TRP uses solid metal, so I feel like these should hold up pretty well to a crash. I mean, they are designed for downhill racing after all. But the reason I'm just not feeling great on the bike right now is because the bike just feels really sloppy and it's not very well composed through the bumps and the rock gardens. And I just don't have a ton of confidence on it at the moment. And over the last 2 weeks, every ride I've been having to add 15 to 20 PSI in the rear shock, and it's just lower every time I check it. So I think that I have to break down once and for all and order some new suspension for this thing. And I'm thinking about going with a coil on this bike. Let me know what you think about that. But I still want to find out if these are the most powerful brakes in the world. And before I installed these, I took the DB8 brakes down this hill, 2 runs, and it stopped in the exact same spot each time.
Oh, wow. It's the exact same spot.
Then I took my e-bike that weighs 20 pounds more with the Maven Ultimate, same size rotors and everything, and that bike stopped way earlier, which is impressive because it weighs so much more than the Bronson. But now it's time to take this thing to the top and see if these are more powerful. All right, here we go. No pedals, just coasting into this. Here it is right here. Oh. Well, that's like 2 inches before the DB8 brakes. And that's the front tire for the Maven, so that's way back there. But I did kind of lock up the wheels, so I'm gonna do this another time to see how it goes. Yeah, not even close, dude. Dang, man, that run number 2 went worse. I don't know how that's possible, dude. Look, there's the Mavens. That's run number 1, DB8s, and run number 2 way over here. That's the TRPs, run number 2. And I know you might say like, oh, it's because the brakes aren't bedded in, but I went up and down that dang road 5 or 6 times, way more than I'd like to. And I went down the trails a couple times as well. So it's like they should be bedded in by now. And let me know if you think it's because I have the mid-tier rotor, not the top of the line race rotor or whatever. But then again, that's not really my fault because I literally could not find 2 of those rotors in stock in the whole United States. And that's kind of how it goes when you run a smaller component brand. But man, I hate to end off this video not really gelling with the bike, but that's just how it goes. I can't fake these videos, man. These feelings are my own genuine opinion, and that's just how it goes sometimes. Well, I couldn't leave the video off like that. I came back and rode for another hour the following day, and I have some closing thoughts on these brakes. So are these TRP brakes the most powerful brakes in the world? No, I don't think so at all. And I mean, I've ridden them enough now, they should be bed in. And yeah, I just don't think they're the most powerful brakes in the world. But do I need the most powerful brakes in the world? No, I don't. So then it comes down to feel. And I feel like these brakes are a mixture of Shimano and SRAM. You know, a good strong bite point like Shimano has, a light lever action, but then it has a long lever. So the leverage curve of these levers provides a good amount of modulation. And that's what I like about the SRAM brakes. So, I mean, I think they feel good, but would I buy these brakes again? Probably not, man. I would probably just stick to the tried and tested SRAM codes, or maybe try another brand or something like that. But stay tuned for next video because I've ordered the suspension. And you guys know I'm a RockShox fanboy, but I've made the switch to Fox suspension. I'm gonna try them out again and see how it goes. So stay tuned, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.